What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today, we're going to talk about this long-awaited Nipsey Hussle debut album called Victory Lap. Now, Nipsey Hussle is a rapper from Los Angeles, California, who's known for his great mixtape run, and he's also known for coming through with a lot of that motivational, inspirational shit. If you ask anyone who's a fan of Nipsey, I guarantee you that'll be one of the first things they bring up. And to be honest, you are getting a lot of those themes and a lot of that content on this album right here. In particular, I think Million While You Young showcases that inspirational Nipsey at his best. I love the smooth production on this one. It's also backed up by some nice dream vocals. And here he's just giving you the blueprint on making a million, man. He's coming through with that inspirational shit. So when he tells you to get your grades up and stop chasing pussy, you really got to listen to him because he knows what he's talking about. Now, Nipsey is also known for coming through with some quality West Coast gangsta music, and there is no shortage of that on this project right here. You'll hear it with the two singles, Rap Niggas and Last Time I Checked, where you're getting some of those West Coast bass and synth effects. So these ones really fit that mold, and these are the tracks you're going to want to come to if that's the sound you're looking for. When it comes to Last Time I Checked, I did like the beat, but I didn't think it was really anything that was out of the ordinary. But the feature on here from YG is some of his best work in a while. I remember recently in a review I said that YG's been slipping for me a little bit, at least since Still Brazy, but he sounds much more focused on this track, and I think their styles really mesh together quite well. Just two West Coast artists, you know, one's repping for the Crips, one's repping for the Bloods, and they're coming together to do their thing. So I did think this track was pretty cool. And as for the song Rap Niggas, again, I like the West Coast style beat on this, but here we come to one of my problems with Nipsey Hussle. I find his rhyming in general just to be kind of boring, and this track is a perfect example of it because he's doing that shit where he puts nigga at the end of every single line. I know he's not the only one to do this. In some instances, it doesn't bother me, but here it is just so damn repetitive that it really made this track bland to me. You will hear Nipsey doing this on other tracks as well, including Young Niggas featuring Puff Daddy, but all Puff Daddy does on here is a couple of ad-libs and an outro, so his feature was really just pointless. I did find it interesting on this track, though, when Nipsey is talking about how him and his brother dug up some money they had buried away, and some of the shit was moldy, so they had to blow dry it. That is some of the most gangster shit I ever heard, and one of the more interesting moments on this project. But to get back to the topic of Nipsey's rhyming in general, I just find him to be redundant and repetitive, man. I really do. Not just with that nigga thing, but also with the fact that he tends to leave a lot of space between his bars, and he doesn't get too creative with his vocals, rhyme schemes, flows, and delivery styles, man. He's just an artist who is not overly engaging to me. Like, I like him in low doses, but for a full album, regardless of the themes and content throughout here, I just don't find him overly exciting to listen to. I mean, that's just a personal thing, so if you're a fan of Nipsey, obviously you won't be bothered by that. That's why you like him. You like his style. But I just like when artists bring a little bit more flair with their rapping. It just keeps me interested throughout. And Nipsey is one of these artists who just really doesn't do that for me. But in spite of that, we're going to get into some of the things on here that I did like the song Dedication. This one features a great verse from Kendrick Lamar, who's just putting on for the West Coast, and also representing for his past as well, man. He goes into a bit of detail about his own story, how he came up, how he was involved in some gang violence there, and he also talks about the plight of Black Americans and the bad hand that has been dealt. So Kendrick is coming through with lots of knowledge on this one, and Nipsey comes through with some great bars too. I really like the part in Nipsey's verse when he speaks on how some kids, they're very smart, but they just don't have a lot of opportunities because they're trapped in their situation. Whether they're living in a neighborhood without a lot of opportunities, maybe they don't have the family support or whatever, and he's just inspiring and motivating these kids to keep going. So Nipsey is great at motivating people and keeping them inspired. Like I said on the intro, that's one of the main things he does, and there's no shortage of that on this project. Now on this track, you will also hear Nipsey doing a little bit of singing, and just like I said in my Cause review, I'm not a fan of Nipsey's singing. I don't know why he didn't get more people just to do some of these hooks. He actually does on some of the tracks, but I didn't like his singing on this song, and I think a better hook could have been put on there. You're also going to hear him singing on the song Real Big, which features Marsha Ambrosius. All she does is a little bridge, but I don't know why you would have her featured on your song and not get her to do the hook. She just has an amazing voice. I've always been a fan of her, so to me, that was just a very weird choice, and, you know, I'm just not a big fan of Nipsey's singing in general. But my favorite track on here has got to be Blue Laces too. I think the soul sample on this one is absolutely beautiful. It's a nice change of pace from the rest of the album, and there is some great storytelling on this thing, man. On that last verse, he's talking about the shootout that went down at a beach, and he gets into so much detail, you can pretty much picture it going on in your head, man. He's very vivid with that. I like the imagery, and this was an instance where I thought his rhyming was on point. He really did keep my attention on that track. Now, another one I liked was Loaded Basses. This has a very interesting beat, just like Blue Laces 2. It's a little bit different, but what you're getting here is just this lively sound. This sounds like something that would sound great performed live at a show. You're getting some percussion that dances around, as well as some nice bass lines on there, vocals and horns. Just a really great track overall that's backed by CeeLo Green. Luckily, he got CeeLo Green to do the hook, and Nipsey wasn't singing the hook himself. This is just an example of how having someone else do the hook can really help you out. So I really like that track, and I thought it was interesting when Nipsey was on here reflecting about how he went to doing shootings at gas stations to actually being this mogul who, is self-motivated. He has his own business plans together. He's negotiating deals. He has just come so far. And regardless of how you feel about Nipsey's music, that is one thing you can't take away from him, man. Not only is he inspiring and motivating other people, he obviously did it with himself because he came from the bottom and has done very well. I definitely respect that about Nipsey. I mean, this man had people buying mixtapes for thousands of dollars, so he knows what he's doing. But at the end of the day, this to me is going to be a 3 out of 5, man. I only really like a couple of tracks, and I am not hearing this 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5 album of the year that a lot of people seem to be talking about. I also saw some people saying this is the new Chronic, fucking absolutely ridiculous. There was a tweet I saw about how Nipsey's singing is going to take over where Nate Dogg left off. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting old and I'm just outdated, but statements like that, like, I'm not hearing that shit at all. Maybe I'm in the minority here, just like with the Brockhampton craze, I wasn't that big into that, but Nipsey's rhyming is one of the biggest issues here. I just find he gets kind of repetitive and doesn't keep my interest through the whole thing. I already talked about that. I think it's a fair complaint because he does rap in that style where he's leaving space and not mixing his shit up too much. I also felt like some of these tracks were a bit fillerish, especially in that middle part with Succa Proof. This one is just an angry banger where he's firing at lames or something like that. And then Grinding All My Life just really sounds about as generic as you would expect from the title. There are a lot of songs on here that I didn't even really think were bad. They were just all right. I could see them being on mixtapes or something like that, but they didn't tie together to make this amazing album for me. So that's what it is, man. I also got to shout out that Hustle and Motivate sample flip because they had the Hard Knock Life sample. They just kind of slowed it down. I mean, it wasn't a favorite track or anything, but just thought that was kind of cool, so I wanted to mention it. But that's it, man. 3 out of 5 for me. That means it's a good album, but not one that I'm going to come back to a lot. And, I'm just not blown away by it, man. If you're a Nipsey fan, you're going to like it. He's doing the same shit he pretty much always does. But I still prefer some of his earlier mixtapes. I just think Nipsey's been around for so long, doing the same type of sound, that to finally get this debut album, like 7, 8 years, however long it is now, I don't know, man. I wasn't blown away by this shit. Still pretty good, though. But that's just what I thought about it. You guys can check it out for yourself and then hit me up in the comment section with your thoughts. And of course, man, make sure you hit me up on all my social media sites. You know where I'm at, so show me love and show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.